T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff. Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
And we start off today's program, Sports and Other Stuff. Lamar who? Freshman Evan Conley is Louisville's next Heisman winner. Plus, Minshew Mania becomes Minshew Mayhem. What happened to those 35,000 mustaches they gave out? But first, we'll start with college football and take it away. It was a great week.
Well, it was a great week if you were a U of L fan and a fan of offense. That U of L Wake Forest game is like those kind of numbers you never heard before. 103 offensive plays from one team.
62 to 59.
It's nuts. But that's cool. And like you were saying, Evan Conley, the young man, that was his coming out party as far as I could tell. I think he is a stabilizing force, believe it or not, just being a young kid that he is. He's still very, very steady.
This is what it sounded like in Winston-Salem. The Department of Homeland Security put out the air raid siren because they don't know what happened still. But did you see how few people were in the stands at that game? What is going on?
It was sad.
It was sad. For a game that was so exciting, it was like, I guess, like they can't give out tickets. But going back to what you said, like Evan Conley, he was a guy who was recruited by Satterfield to go to Appalachian State. He came with them. And, man, if this is what he's going to be, what a promising start. I mean, he threw 196 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, interception, had 79 yards rushing and a touchdown run.
That 41-yard run. Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like they're coming back. I think Wake scored 28 points in the fourth quarter, and obviously they were feeling the heat. U of L did, and on 4th and 1, the cojones to run essentially a design run for the running back, and he bursts through and gets a 41-yard touchdown. It shows you how much faith they have in him. So
yeah, and I tell you what was also striking. I don't know if you've seen the video or not, but the 2 coaches warming up, the offensive coach,
and defensive line coach is one who got.
He got bloodied up, man. It was nuts. I don't know if that inspires players or just hacks them off, but.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Newt Rockney back in the day. You got to win. You got to go.
No, the defensive guy got down and was hitting some people in full pads and helmets, and he's just.
And then another coach tried to pull him off, and it almost felt like they were going to go to blows. It's like, guys, your game hasn't even started. I mean,
the announcers were loving it. They were loving it. So
well, that's how that goes. But it was another great week of college football. Anything to say about who's going all the way to the end here? I guess we'll find out something this weekend when Clemson comes to town.
Well, yeah, that won't be much. I hope you'll.
No prediction there.
But,
I mean, yeah, I think there'll be some fight. I'm not going to predict the U of L will win just because I'm not going to say that Clemson's come out of their catatonic state that they seem to be in for all of September. But obviously against Florida State, it seems like they've kind of woken up a bit. But I think it could be. I think they could hang with them maybe for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I guess the 2 games that really stood out to me. Is I guess, and they were I guess you would say the big games nationally was LSU and Florida, and then Oklahoma, Texas.
Yep. Your prediction didn't come true. Somebody said Oklahoma,
I said Oklahoma was going to lose,
okay.
And let me tell
somebody
you,
else said something else.
I will say this about that game. Oklahoma, they not only won that game, the score does not indicate how dominant they really were. I mean, there were some bad turnovers. The interception was bad in the red zone. The fumble by Jalen Hurts, that's just, it happens. But They, he threw for 235 yards, ran for 131 yards, had 4 overall touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb had 171 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. And 2 of his touchdowns showed you like how big the difference is between those two teams. Because 2 of those touchdowns, the second touchdown on the flea flicker, there were 5 Texas players around him. Only 1 touched him. He ran it in like another 30 yards. And then his third touchdown, there was 2 guys that touched him, and there was 4 guys around him, and he squirted in for another touchdown. And CeeDee Lamb, obviously he's strong, but he's like 190 pounds. And for these guys in the secondary not to be able to like corral him in any way, it just shows you the difference between Oklahoma, who obviously the big bugaboo has always been their defense. Their defense had 9 sacks in that game. They were all over Ellering the whole game. And to be fair, actually going back to predictions, Lugs predicted that Oklahoma was going to win the championship. And when you watch that game, that might not be far off.
Got a chance.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But I tell you, the Alabama game was pretty good. I saw parts of that. Tua is Tua, but all of the pieces are in place. I mean, this is a great quarterback year, I think. Mm-hmm. It really is. And I'll have some more comments about quarterbacks when we get into the pros here. But
well, speaking of good quarterback play, Joe Burrows for LSU against Florida. Mm-hmm. Florida entering that game was only allowing 9.5 points. They put 42 on him.
Yeah, and
he completed 87% of his passes. So, he's got 2 great receivers, Jefferson and Chase. They both went for 120. Chase went for 2 touchdowns. Jefferson 1, but just how effortlessly, and it's just crazy like the difference an OC made. The guy from the Saints comes in, and Burrows was looked at as being like this game manager coming from Ohio State, and now this guy looks like a young Drew Brees essentially in New Orleans. So
yeah, well, it proves that coaching does matter, and just getting the player primed for what the team is he's going to face.
And even in defeat, I will say Trask, I think, played well going into Death Valley, and a night game too. I mean, it's never easy, and he did as much as he could to win that game.
All right, you ready to move into the National Football League?
Oh yeah, let's do it. Right, it was one of those kind of.
Yes, we'd like to thank the Falcons, Dolphins, and Bengals for participating. We have lovely parting gifts for them this season from Roger Goodell.
Well, and does anybody anywhere need to see the Titans play? The Denver game was just sad to watch. And then the Chargers, Pittsburgh.
That was horrendous.
That game was the greatest example of. We talk a lot about quarterback play and sometimes wide receiver play and whatnot. It comes down to lines because, Steelers were down to their third quarterback, Delvin Hodge. It did not matter. He was not asked to do a lot. Their offensive line strafed the hell out of the Chargers, and then the Chargers' offensive line could not stop any pass rush from.
No. It was a full jailbreak all the time, And I'm not a real fan of Rivers, but you got to give the man a chance,
they're both their tackles are backups. I'm blanking on Russell Okung. He's out with a blood clot. He hasn't played this year, and I'm blanking on who the right tackle is. He was out, so they have 2 backups. And again, it kind of goes back to like when we've talked about the Bengals before. When you have like a not like a pedestrian line, but like a woeful line, teams smell the blood and they're just going at you.
Oh yeah.
So,
and don't you like the soccer stadium in Carson, California, where the Chargers played? And there were more Steeler fans there than Chargers fans.
It was
How does that work?
Well, the sad thing is, obviously Steelers travel well, and obviously they have a rich
California?
history. But the sad thing is, they are in a silent count Chargers pretty much every game, and whether they're in.
But the Holiday Inn and the Fairmont Express hotels were all sold out in Carson. There were no other rooms because all the Steeler fans took them.
Hey.
That's my thinking anyway.
Well, and I want to, we were talking quarterbacks. The quarterback crop of Darnold, Goff, and what was the guy from UCLA? I can't remember his name.
Rosen, Josh Rosen.
And was Wentz in that class, or was he before?
Well, they're all in different classes a little bit. Rosen, Baker, Lamar, and Darnold were in the same class.
Well, I will say that after watching Darnold play against Dallas, he's the class of that bunch. If he had any good big time receivers outside, did you see that?
Robbie Anderson is he's pretty talented, and then Jameson Crowder's
92-yard pass. Mm-hmm. And prediction here: this is Jason Garrett's last season as head coach there. And I think he'll bring in that offensive coordinator. What is it, Moore?
Kellen Moore?
Yeah.
Well, he's cooled off, too, after those first 3 weeks. So it's...
That's the sound of the boardroom at the Cowboys right now. Jerry Jones leading the charge. Jerry, put all the sharp objects away. We don't trust you right now.
Yeah. I mean...
Crazy. The Jets beat the Cowboys. I mean, wow, you are right.
With all the talent that the Cowboys have on both sides of the ball, I mean, that to me is coaching again.
To be fair to your point, obviously with how much they paid Ezekiel Elliott, with how much they're going to have to pay Dak, obviously the pressure cooker is ratcheted up full 100%. Like he paid Ezekiel Elliott because, to be fair, Jerry Jones is in the window of they're a Super Bowl team. And obviously if they don't make the playoffs, which I still think they have a good chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they should do that.
But because the NFC East, they're still tied for the lead with the Eagles. And actually they play this next week.
Right.
So at Dallas, so they have the opportunity to, I guess, assert themselves. But
would you blame the play calling, though? Because Witten was put in some bad spots. He's not that athletic anymore. I mean, he was in the booth last year doing what we're doing today.
Yeah,
in fact, he might stop by later. I'm not sure.
Witten left football for a reason, because usually when they talk about when players feel like they have to give it up, they should give it up, because if you had that feeling, then you're done.
Well, and I think he came back because they wanted him back in the locker room to give some sort of stability.
Leadership.
Yeah, I mean, with all the distractions that were going on with Zeke, I think that's why he came back. And he's a loyal guy. And he has lost a step, maybe a step and a half, but he still shows up. I mean, if he gets the ball near him, he will catch that ball.
Oh, he can catch. And honestly, they pro scouts talk about like speed at tight ends overrated, but there does become a drop off at a certain point. That's all I'll say.
You got to be doing more than just skip to Malou out there. You
got to catch the ball. So should we say bye-bye or rethink about Kansas City? The Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles, man, they don't look too good, do they? Any of those teams?
I guess if I was rating like teams in trouble, like the one in most trouble is the Rams. I'd say KC is probably second, and then you can do a tie for Dallas and the Eagles, because again they're both tied for the division.
Good point.
The Rams are probably in the biggest trouble because they play in the division with the 49ers and the Seahawks, and those two teams are just a cut above. They just are.
Did anybody see the Niners going 5-0? No. Did anybody see that coming?
No, not at all.
No. There were hints, though, because you look at that defensive line, going back to like how important lines are. Their whole starting defensive line, they're all high first-round draft picks. DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, Solomon Thomas, and then obviously besides DeForest Buckner, probably the big buku one is Nick Bosa, who last Monday night had it coming out and just destroyed Baker Mayfield. And just DeForest Buckner just collapses pockets time after time. And then you have the running attack that Kyle Shanahan has. Like even when McVay was hot, like Kyle Shanahan was still the guys that people tried to steal from, at least running wise, because like he's just cut above.
Who's the big back for them?
They have two. Well, Tevin Coleman from IU, and this goes back to Atlanta. Kyle Shanahan was OC when they drafted him. He likes him, but to be fair to what you said, Matt Breida is the other one. And from a athletic standpoint, Matt Breida, as good as an athlete as Tevin Coleman is, Matt Breida, I believe, tested in like the 95th percentile at running back, but through the Spark score.
They have a cheer at the stadium that goes, "Hey, Matt Breida."
Okay.